Peace, 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 everybody. What's up to all my sis? Y'all know what time it is. It's time for the Talking Tarot Show. So, y'all know I don't wait for people to join. If you happen to pop on here while you see me, share this live and bring people on because we got some interesting things to talk about today. I also have a special guest coming on by the name of Keith Young, guys. He has written a book, which I call the Encyclopedia of the Black Goddesses, and the original Bible of the hidden codes and meanings of a lot of the origins of things, called the Black Goddess, the legacy of the sacred feminine. So this is going to be real good. We're going to cover some points here, 5 bullet points. So I'm going to pull in some energy and then I'm going to bring him on and we're going to get started. If you happen to miss this, you'll be able to catch it live. I mean, not live, but on YouTube on the Talking Tarot Show. So, Secret Ancestors. Oh, wow. They talking already, y'all. This is Hotep Temple Healing, which is the perfect energy to bring in because that's exactly what so many of us need. We need to heal our thought process. We need to heal our perceptions. And the only way we do that is by getting the wisdom that we need, the ancient wisdom, not the stuff that we've been taught. And so the number 17 could definitely be significant to somebody, and the number 8 could be significant. So, Keith, I'm going to bring you on, and y'all please share this live if you come on and you see this, but we getting ready to get started with Keith Young. Come on in the room, and it should be coming on in 1 second, sure. Let's see. Mr. Young, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am excited.
All right.
I'm
All right.
doing grandificent, excited about this topic that we're discussing. So I just want to say, you pulled in a good energy. You pulled in Hotep. This is about temple healing, right?
Yeah.
Tell me, give me your definition of how you feel about temple healing, the energy you pull from this.
Well, Imhotep is or was one of the most well-known doctors from ancient Kemet, and he was a recognized multi-genius. During his time on Earth, the people across the Earth, he was recognized widely as being what we call a multi-genius, which means he was good at a lot of things. He was good at music. He was good at architecture. He was good at the arts of healing. And he even wrote some papyruses that became the first medical journals, the first medical books. At
Right.
least as far back as I've been able to tell. I'm certain everybody's always saying first this, first that, but um, it happened a really long time ago in the time of Kemet, about 3,000 years ago, at least. But it's just important that he has an important energy because he was a healer. He not only healed physical temples, but he helped to build real temples. So he was well versed in the mental, physical, spiritual, emotional arts of doing it all. So that is a really good energy. Especially because my intention behind the book is to help to heal the most ancient temple, which is the womb of the mother.
Wow, that's deep. I'm loving it already. So, Keith, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself and kind of talk about the art of your book to give an introduction, and then we can get into these bullet points and get some of this doctrinal energy you got going on, pulling in something like this. You know what I'm saying? I'm pulling in something like this. The ancestors is talking, baby.
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and get into the energy behind your book, the Black Goddess.
All right. Well, my name is Hero Keith D. Young is my full name. I'm a native Detroiter. I was born and raised on the east side of Detroit. I lived all over Detroit, since I was little, but I grew up around 7 Mile and Conant area. Um, I have had a lot of jobs, over time. So, I've been a graphic designer, a web designer. I have been a police officer for several years. Um, I'm I'm in IT. I think computers, software, things like that. So, but my passion has always been art, entrepreneurship, and education. So something else I um, been an educator in several nonprofit organizations, teaching young people how to use computers to be creative, how to do graphics and web design. Some of the things that I was doing as a career, I used
Right.
that to change, teaching other people how they could use it to make their own content, make their own content. But I was doing this really before YouTube and Instagram and things like that were even a thing. But the core principles were based around how do you create media. So I
Right.
doing that for very many years. Um, and as a side passion, like in my personal life, I've been investigating religion for a long time. Been involved in several different religions since I was a child. I was born and raised as one of the Jehovah's Witnesses. And then when I became a teenager, I broke away from that, and I became a born again Orthodox Christian. And then after several years of concentrated study in that religion and going to seminary and things like that, my own intensive study of the Bible, I walked away from the religion of Christianity. And I had this question that was always dogging me about religion and about Christianity in particular. And it was that they were always talking about God the Father loves Jesus, his son, so much. And, you know, when they spoke about God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, they always spoke of them as being a triad of three men.
Right.
And I didn't understand why Jesus didn't have a mother in heaven. I used to ask that question, like, well, his father loved him so much. I can only imagine as a child, I was looking at how much time I got to spend with my mother versus how much time I got to spend with my father and who I really
Right.
love from. And so I'm thinking, well, if his mom loved, if his father loved him, his mother must have really loved, she must have really been.
Right. Right.
So how come they never talk about that in the scriptures or the Bible stories or things like that? And the answer that I got was that, God, the Father, is a creator all on his own. He didn't need anybody or anything to begin his creations of people, places, and things, that all these males and females, everything else is natural, but that everything else has a mother except everybody else had a wife,
Right.
a female counterpart except that. And that wasn't a satisfactory answer to me. That didn't make sense. It didn't make
Right.
me. So I kept looking for the presence of this spiritual mother, and I didn't find it until I got to quote unquote Afrocentric studies, where I was learning about history, religion, mythology from a more Afrocentric perspective.
Right.
And so I got a hold to some of the teachings of some prominent Afrocentric scholars like Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, Dr. John Henrik Clarke, Dr. Charles Finch, and many others who led me. They didn't focus solely on the goddess. Dr. Charles Finch, he focused more on the goddess than any of the others that I've noticed for the most part. But they mentioned that what they had to teach was that the black man, the black woman, and the black child were the template for the Trinity, for
Right.
the Godhead. And they showed and proved different evidence from places like Kemet, which today is called Africa, Mesopotamia, Europe, all over Africa, so many places around Africa, America. They showed these templates. They showed how there was always this God the Father, God the Mother, God the Son characters. They weren't considered to be gods at that time. They were considered to be forces of nature. These were aspects of nature.
Right.
And it harmonized with what made sense. There's a father, a mother, and a child as a result of that. And
Right.
that is the formula that allows life to continue on planet Earth.
Exactly.
So when I found that really changed the game for me. So as they listed references and things like that, I kept my focus on, well, clearly evidence of the goddess, the mother goddess, has been erased. Somebody spent a lot of time erasing those images, whitewashing those images, and then finally even debasing those images. Pardon me for this.
But let me ask you a question. Based off of all of the studies and research that you've done over the years, right?
Mhm.
What conclusion did you come to of why they erased the mother or the goddesses out of the picture when it comes down as regards to religion and that sort of thing?
They erased her because she is at the center of the power. She is the temple. She is the temple that brings forth life, that carries life through time and space. And so in order for them to violate her children, they violated her. She needed to be violated, debased, and changed so that it could work with their system. The way that it was set up originally, it empowered us. It empowered the Black mother. It empowered her Black husband and man and her children and our living in this paradigm. So in order for them to invade and be able to superimpose a new system on that, they had to change the way you all thought about yourselves. They had to change the way you all felt about the material world and the spiritual world. They had to change your thoughts and your ideas and your behavior to in order for them to do what they needed to do. So the whole part of the system was to tear the Black image down and then to build up this artificial or this illusionary white image of divinity, which, you know, it exists in the fictions of history. It exists in the fictions of mythology, as opposed to when you get to the original myths, you get to the original spiritual traditions, those people are the people of the earth, and they are the color of the earth as well.
Right. So let's get into the first bullet point on that note, symbolism, right?
Yes.
Kind of touch on in your book. You do have a chapter. You do have your book handy.
Yeah.
And there's a chapter in your book that you talk about symbolism. I want to kind of touch on that because I want to what page exactly is your symbolisms? Because this is, y'all listen, this is the real encyclopedia. This is the real Bible right here. All right. You want to learn about something about your Black history, you need to look at this Bible and this encyclopedia right here instead of the Britannica. So what page is that?
This chapter right here, Black Goddess, Divine Revelation of the Holy Spirit. And that's on page 376. That's where it gets started.
376. So we getting ready to go over symbolisms, y'all. You know how we see the Nazi symbols and all these different symbolisms that, you know, people are using today that we have not been taught the origin of. So we may think they mean one thing, but Mr. Young is going to kind of touch on what some of those symbolisms are. Okay. You say 376?
Yeah, that's where it gets started. That's just where it gets started.
Okay. Okay, here we go. So these are some of the images in this book that you'll find that he's touched on these symbolisms. All of these symbolisms have been used in religious factors, in cultural factors, you know, around the globe. Not just religious factors, but also hate groups and everything. You'll find a lot of these symbolisms. So we get ready to touch on it. So kind of touch on these symbolisms. I want to kind of start with the swastika. I think that's a little interesting because when we as people see this symbolism, the first thing we think of is Nazis and races and hatred and, you know, the Holocaust and all this other stuff. So can we kind of touch on that one?
Yeah, for sure. That's actually that's one of those symbols that it's important to know the history of, because as you said, if you look at it today, it's associated with the Nazis and Germany and the Holocaust and all of the bad things that happened along with that. However, that symbol was not created by Germans. It was merely used by Germans. It was appropriated by them as a symbol. That symbol is actually much more ancient than that civilization of Germany who did all the things that they, you know, did. It goes back to Neolithic times, which is Stone Ages is what we're talking about. And that symbol was used as a symbol of the sun, the moon, the axis mundi, which means the center of the world or the center of the cosmos, the cosmic navel. And it was used by the Hopi and the Navajo Amerindians, which have been found all over the world as a symbol of good fortune. So that symbol predates Germany and all the hatred and all the bad things. So it is important to know the history of symbols so that we can put them in their proper context or perhaps correct a way that it was used. You know, the thing about symbols is people can use them for, it's based on your intention. You can use it for positive purposes or for negative purposes. And sometimes people appropriate certain symbols to use it for a negative purpose, or it becomes associated with negativity. Does that mean that we need to throw that symbol out, for its usage? I don't think so. I think what needs to happen is that we need to more completely understand what the symbol stands for and how it can be, how its definition can be changed based on context and intention.
Okay, so can we go to another symbol? Let's talk about the Ihiti symbol. I need some reading classes, y'all.
The Hijri, that is the Islamic symbol. That's the cosmic symbol that they use to denote their spiritual faith and belief, their religion. It's a symbol that's associated with that. All of these, I want to call your attention to the fact that all of these symbols are solar symbols. They're solar and lunar symbols together. So the most ancient luminaries or divinities or luminaries, if you will, were the sun that we could see during the day and the moon that we could see during the night. As a consequence, very many of our symbols, as they march through time, like this is one of the oldest symbols of the sun and the mother together. Right. This is another one. It looks like a hill with a sun on top of it. That black hill is the womb of the mother, which gives birth to the red sun that's on top. Then we have the crescent moon with the sun inside of it. That one looks the most like a boat. A boat is nothing but a vessel. A vessel is what women are. Vessels for what? To carry life through time. Give birth. Right. Wow. This one with the it looks like the Jewish symbol, right? We associate that with Judaism. However, it's also a symbol which the upward facing triangle, there's one triangle that faces up, that is symbolic of the masculine. And then there's a triangle which faces down, which is a symbol for the divine feminine. And those two interlocked as they are represents the divine unity of the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine, and that their ability to create when they're in unison. Wow. The Christian cross even is both solar and lunar. You could look at it as there are two sticks or two phalluses, one upward and one sideways. You could also look at the horizontal bar as being the horizon or the line of the mother. So there's multiple ways that you could look at that cross. And then finally to the crescent and the star, which is, once again, it's a moon and a star, or moon and a sun. Right. So now let's go back to this cross, because there's a lot of information that talks about this cross as well as being a missionary symbol for same sex. Yes, that is a part of the symbolism. You could look at it. Okay. Yes. Okay, but that's not supposed to be the origin. No, that's not the origin, but that is, once again, it's a way that symbol has been interpreted. Right. And it also has something to do with the rampant homosexuality of Catholicism and other Christian sects. No disrespect to anybody who believes in that and follows the tenets or teachings of Christianity, but there are some things that go on that they're like open secrets, that have to do with homosexuality and pedophilia and things like that are associated with that symbol. but that's a, you know, that's a more expansive topic. I don't want to get
Right.
there, but
So
yeah.
now the next bullet point that we were talking about is the principles of the gods and the goddesses, because a lot of these things that we've been taught about these energies, such as Jesus or Buddha and Horus, Haru, you know, or Isis, and all of these different things, we've been taught that these people were real people. But study shows and history shows that these are mere principles of, of energies. So can you kind of touch on the expound more on the gods and the goddesses and their principles?
Well, originally gods and goddesses, what we consider gods and goddesses weren't people at all. Originally, they were stones or trees or animals.
Mm.
They were, you know, those things. It was the wind that you could feel, but you couldn't see. You know, that had visible effects, but we considered that to be a deity. We considered the sun, the light and the heat, the energy which came from the sun was life-giving. It was, you know,
Right.
originally when we were doing praise and worship, it wasn't just we were holding our hands up high to the Lord to, you know, just because we were happy. It's actually because in your hands, if you look at your hands and then you look at a leaf, they're very similar, the veins and things like that. So you know how leaves, when in the trees, they grow up towards the sun. Why?
Right.
Because of the life-giving energy that they get from the sun. So when we were doing
Right.
praise and worship and we were raising our hands literally towards the sun, that was for us to get the energy from the sun too. The energy being right into the palms of your hands and into your bodies and all through your chakras and energy.
So this is what all this means when people are in church and they doing this and praise the Lord. They don't really know that's what they're doing, is calling energy basically from the real solar
Yeah,
sun.
that's where it came from, right?
And that image of Jesus doing this.
Yes, with the hands up,
And,
right? Yeah, all of that is
yeah.
about the original thing. Once again, is the principle. It was something that we could see and touch and feel ourselves. You didn't need anybody to tell you it was a mystery. You could go out and stand in the sun and get energy from it and
Right.
show and prove. You know what I mean? So once again, these things, deities were archetypes. They were types of energies that showed up as ideals. They showed up as like, wow, she can really sing. Wow, they can really be, you know, they're the ultimate warrior. Wow, they, you know, whatever the epitome of a certain energetic principle was, it was open to become mythologized as a deity. And that was for the purpose of explaining it to somebody else.
Right. So can you just give us an example of one of the gods or goddesses that you did write about and kind of talk about the principle of that deity and what it means as regards to us in the physical as a deity, so as opposed as a deity for them, for those principles,
Yeah.
and how they became materialized to be real people.
How they became materialized to be real people. That's actually a very it happened through a process. It was a process of, once again, as I just mentioned, these principles or archetypes became, we use certain objects to symbolize them, right?
Right.
And so over time, that vocabulary of symbols became more expansive.
Right.
And so over time, we began to add more and more to the story. There was the original story, and then we kept adding to the story. We kept adding characters, and we kept making things more specific. People had more specific questions. Well, what about this, or what about that? So certain things that used to be explainable with rocks and the sun and the moon and animals and things like that, they that no longer became enough. It was like we needed something else. So the stories changed to people.
Right.
Let's change the story about a magical frog that if you kiss this magical frog, it'll turn into a prince. that story doesn't have anything to do with a real prince, or it
Right.
has to do with a certain type of transformation. But they use
Right.
that particular story of the prince kissing a frog and turning to transformation. They use that as a way to explain the story to initiates or to children. And what they
Right.
do is over time, you would go through that as a mystery. And as you got older, they would explain to you the symbolism. As you
Right.
question, the mystery is supposed to unfold.
The mystic of it. So let's talk about one of the orishas that you wrote about. Kind of
Okay.
give an example of this principle of that deity.
Okay. So one Orisha in particular I would highlight would be Oya. Oya as a principle is the river Niger. She is the river Niger itself. All right. So the goddess Oya is actually a personification of the river Niger. First off, right? She's also the personification of the power of a buffalo, the water buffalo, which is a very powerful creature. She is also the personification of the wind and air. She is the one, when you pass away, she is the one who takes your breath away.
Wow.
That's a
Okay.
principle.
Okay.
So she is related, and she's also related to the energy of fire and electricity. She's also like an amplifier. So one of her major consorts is a Orisha named Shango, and Shango is a Orisha of warfare, and he has a magical axe that he is able to, very similar to the god Thor in the Marvel movies. He's able to call down electricity and whip up storms and things with his magical axe. Now, Oya is able to amplify that power. She is able to make it stronger. So when in the African Amerindian traditions, our deities often came in pairs. We didn't just have a father or just a mother. They was a father and a mother, but they was first a husband and a wife. They was first, they had some interactions, and they were powerful in their own rights. And when they got together, they became even more powerful. So just as once again, Oya as a principle, she's personified as a black woman who wears a red burgundy colors, and she has a crown that covers her face with a veil, and she has swords, and she has different accoutrements as a personality, but her personality is the story or the front for the principles that she represents, which is the river energy, the flow. But
So let's take that and talk about magic, right? So people use these deities when they do spells and rituals and stuff like that. How does that apply when people call on these energies? How does that make this stuff become a reality? How does this become a reality when you're dealing with these principles and these different energies and gods and goddesses and these different aspects of these principles?
That's a really good question. It has to do with the fact that when you are invoking certain deities, to invoke something is to call that energy to yourself, and then that energy is expressed through yourself. So if we're talking about principles and cosmic and natural principles and archetypes, when people are working magic, they are calling those energies alive in themselves, which reveals a secret about the goddesses that is very important. In our most ancient golden age traditions, I'll put it, because they weren't always pristine. The practices have certainly fallen over time, but during the golden age of this, it was about you didn't just worship a goddess or a deity god, you became them. The history is that you have the power to realize that energy, that deity inside of you. It's everything.
So those deities are just aspects of yourself.
Yes.
That you call to yourself.
Yes.
And you are basically invoking those energies into yourself as you invoke them into an intention.
Yeah,
This is how they become a reality, through spells and rituals and stuff like that.
yeah.
Okay,
And
so the same.
the ritual is to channel the energy. It's to give it purpose. You're the one who gives it intention. So the more,
Exactly.
whenever you do a ritual, it's like it'll be more the most effective, the most energy you put into it. So if someone
Right.
tells you to go to the store and buy a candle and buy some herbs and buy some whatever, and you real lackadaisical about it, you halfway doing it, you don't have all the stuff, you buying the cheapest things, you're not putting the intention into it, you're not, you know, putting the time and energy into it, and you're expecting a result. It's just like anything else. You're not going to get something for nothing.
Yeah, I agree with that. So now let me ask you, with that same example that you just gave, why do you think Jesus became so powerful?
Say what?
Especially in the black community.
Well,
Especially.
well, for one, is he's actually based on several characters that we already loved and respected. So that's one way that the character of Jesus was able to gain so much prominence to us, because they use several aspects of a guy named Haru, who was very well respected for us as people. We respected what
Right.
he did as a son of God. There was also a character named Quetzalcoatl in South America who had I may not be, he has another name, but he was crucified. He had friends around him that were considered his disciples. He had a very similar story that was later appropriated and changed into the Jesus narrative. But a part of
Right.
we love and respect that Jesus character so much is because he reminds us of much older characters who we thought of as the Christos, the one who was
Right.
able to ascend. The Messiah is a very familiar concept to us as a people, because we believe that I believe the children are the future. Every child,
Right.
a mother, is the Messiah. He or she came here to participate in the world, to bring their particular light to the world.
Right.
We didn't believe that no one came here that didn't have any light. So
Right.
that was a thing for us, and that's why that story was able to be so readily accepted. It's basically they jacked the story, they whitewashed it, they turned all the characters into white people or white Arab people, or white Jewish people, and then they changed some of the details so that we redirected our time, energy, and attention to their deity, to their
Okay.
God.
Exactly. So that being said, would you call that a form of sorcery or
Absolutely.
magic, or would you incorporate this
Yes.
in the same way that we look at the Orishas with
Yes.
Shango and Oya and Oshun and all these other, and Ogun and all this? So Jesus kind of falls right in that same category. So
Yes.
the reason why you would say that Christianity, or any Christian religion for that matter, has so much power and effect on the minds and hearts of people is because they've been able to have so much energy and power invoked
Well, you know,
and applied.
belief is a real thing. Faith is a
Right,
real thing. Faith is a substance. So there are people who put belief in that, and that makes it real on certain levels. You know what I mean? And so
yeah.
they've been exploiting that. That's a way of exploiting spiritual technology. And when they add our power to the mix, that melanin makes it even stronger. So
So let's get to
they
this next
about.
bullet point then.
Hmm?
Based on what we're talking about, this leads us into mirror magic.
Okay.
Because I don't think people realize that everything in the physical was in the spiritual before it became manifested into the physical.
Hmm.
Everything. From everything we touch started from something you couldn't see or touch. It started there and then it materialized because somebody brought it into fruition. So I'm saying that to say this. When we look at a mirror, right? The mirror is the same principle. We apply that to the same principle. And a lot of people look in the mirror every day at themselves and they tell themselves things. They don't realize what they're doing is a retroflexion spell every day.
Mm.
When they look at a mirror, like we're looking at each other right now, we're sending each other some sort of telepathic energy. You understand what I'm saying? It's either a good energy or a bad one or indifferent one. You see, so what do you have to say when it comes to mirror magic? Because you do talk about that in your book.
Yes, I would say that it's the most important thing, or the most basic thing, is to ask yourself whether or not you can look yourself in the mirror. And what I mean by that is, um, can you look at yourself and you really appreciate who you are on the inside? If the windows are the window to the soul, then a mirror becomes a tool for self-examination, for inner examination. So that's the most important mirror magic you can do, is to use it to examine your soul, your motivations, your intentions, your emotions, your actions. Can you look yourself in the mirror and like what you see? Not just physically, not just the outside. Not, some people look in the mirror and you're right. They look in the mirror and they see all the things they need to fix, all the products that they need to buy for their hair, their skin. I'm looking baggy. Ooh, I need cucumbers under my. Ooh, I need. We do all of that kind of scrutiny, but that's just the superficial. That's just the cover. Look in there, in that mirror, and look inside. That magic is the magic that is the most neglected. Because as you're right, well, we do a lot of things in that mirror unconsciously, and we cast illusions on ourselves, because of the
Now,
things that.
what page is your mirror magic on?
All right, let me take a look.
Because you have a lot of beautiful artwork in your book. This is gorgeous.
Oh, thank
And this needs to be a program at schools. It really does, and even at universities. And I feel like every parent needs to get this book and
Yeah.
have this book at home with their children and go over it with them as time go on. What page is that?
That's page 176. It starts on. And
Okay, 176.
it's pretty ugly. It's the name of the report, the name of the chapter, and it's where I talk about the mirror being a tool for self-examination, and self. And that chapter is incidentally, it's after the chapter about Medusa, who was a goddess who had those snakes in her hair. And
yeah, touch on that.
She had the power to turn men to stone, or petrify men into stone. And she was so terrifying. All these heroes went to go fight her, and they wound up getting turned into stone or destroyed. And Athena helped out a hero named Perseus. She told him the secret to defeating Medusa, and it was to use a shield that looked like a mirror. So,
wow,
before he was able to murder her, he held up this shield which showed her her own face. As she was fascinated by her image in the mirror, that's when he was able to cut her head off and take.
Because she got too fascinated with her physical appearance and forgot her power.
Yes, and he was able to take her power.
That's deep. Yeah. That's deep. Okay, yep. I finally, with my blind stuff, and found it. So it's called Pretty Ugly. Yeah. And this is about mirror magic. Yeah. And you talk about self-examination. Yeah. You talk about knowing thyself. Yeah. So you talked about self-examination when you said how the reason for mirror magic in the first place. Okay. Yeah. Explain Pretty Ugly.
Mirror magic happens the most. The mirror magic happens the most in front of the TV. Right? And here's where I'm going with that. When they show you the real wives of anything, when they show you women behaving badly towards one another, when they show you women abandoning their children or being bitches, just being assholes, just being and reveling in it, that is mirror magic. That's a form of showing you an image of what you're supposed to do. And then what happens is people pick up on those images and they start to behave like that. It's not just on the TV anymore.
That's true.
They beam it right to the phone. We can all get a dose of ratchetness right on TikTok. Right.
That's true. That's very true.
People do secret groups and they spreading lies and they're spreading propaganda and they're hurting other people. They're doing all kinds of things that they have no business doing. And then other people see that and it's beamed right through this black mirror. Right. So it's not just a mirror on our screen. It's a black mirror. Anytime somebody uses a black mirror, they talking about magic. They're using magic. They're using the magic of blackness against who? It works.
Black people.
It don't. It's not that the thing is it's not that it just works against us. It does work
Right,
against us, but it works against everybody else too, because blackness absorbs all the colors. It also
right,
emit all the colors. So
right.
they use these tools as low-key mirror magic to make you buy cream so that your face will be smoother, make you buy certain toothpaste, make you buy things to make your breath fresh and your hair fly, and there's a billions, trillions dollars industry that has to do with the mirror magic base that comes through your TV.
That's deep.
Yeah.
So explain pretty ugly.
Pretty ugly. It's about a person who can look at themselves on the outside and, ooh, I'm fine. I got it going on. But on the inside, there's ugliness that they don't see, that they don't examine, and that they don't take the time to beautify. That's the thing. It's
Yeah.
not that the inside of us cannot be beautified. Just like we beautify the outside of ourselves, we can also do the same thing with the inside of ourselves. There's some things that
Right.
we need some toothpaste for the soul. You need some mouthwash
Right.
for your heart.
Yeah.
You
You definitely got that right. You
right.
got that right. So now all of these different aspects of magic that we're talking about, the symbolisms and the origins and the principles of the gods and the goddesses, and then the mirror magic and all the different aspects of gods and goddesses. How does all of this tie into religion and mythology? How does that join forces?
Well, you asked me. I wrote a book that's 436 pages to answer that question.
That's why you the person to ask.
Right. That's
you the person to ask.
Complicated question. The mythology, we have been taught that it's false, or that it was fictional stories, and that was a fallacy for the most part. There are some fictional stories. Those stories were a part of something that was known as the mystery school. Those myths were designed to be understood and to unfold. The myths are like zip files. They are the ancient world zip files, which means that there is information that you can get from it that is a lot more inside of it that you can unpack. Okay.
Right.
So mythology was designed to be unpacked over time through mastery. And as it was unpacked over time through mastery, your eyes, your consciousness became more and more aware until all of the blinders were come off of your physical and spiritual eyes, and you're able to realize what true divinity is for yourself.
So mythology is basically about self-mastery.
Yes.
Character and self-mastery.
Character development. It is the how the soul can transform from its base form, its base bestial form, because at the base of everything is at the base of all humankind is a beast, right?
Right.
But you can refine that. You can change that, transform that beast into a man, into a woman, into a god, a goddess, and higher. There's other levels other than gods and goddesses. That's like the tip of the iceberg type of thing. But the goal was that you, over time, once again, you learned more about that myth and how it related to you and your own inner development, your own, and the myths became the fairy tales.
So now, even in mythology was supposed to be a personal development. It had nothing to do with reflecting that onto other people. It was about you digging it within yourself, finding those principles, finding those values and those morals.
You're supposed to be curious about it. So, how in religion now, if you're too curious, they start looking at you sideways, like your face.
Oh, they don't want you questioning anything.
Right.
They don't want you to ask no question.
Right. But
none. Especially the ones they can't answer.
Yeah. In the mystery school, however, they wanted you to ask those questions. As a matter of fact, they were waiting for you to ask those questions, because that gave them the opportunity to then illuminate you further, to give you more information about what you because your mind was there. When you have a question about something that you believe in, it's because your mind is now ready to deal with it. It's like, okay, wait a minute. Let me get the details of this thing straight. So
Right.
seek answers, some things that are not clear. So that was the major difference. And one was to set you free. Religion means literally to tie you down or to tie you back. Re means again. Ligate or ligion means to tie. So it means to tie you down, to tie you backwards to something.
Mm-hmm.
Mystery school was about setting you free from your ignorance of your godliness.
Wow. So you're saying religion took mythology?
Yes. Remixed it. Did the whole Trojan horse thing. You know what a Trojan horse virus is? A Trojan horse virus is if you've seen something on the website and you think it's good, like, ooh, this is going to help me. And you click
Right.
it and you download that to your computer. And then it gets on your,
Now you got a virus.
and now you got a virus. Okay, so religion is that thing that comes in the name of it's going to save you. It's going to help you. But you click that, you download that into your spirit, and then out comes all these negative things that you don't even know was a part of it. Things like shame, guilt, fear, despair, delusion, and they fill you with the fact that you are nothing without their system, nothing without the belief that they give you in the particular deity. If you don't do it their way, this particular time, in this particular manner, then you're flawed. So that Trojan horse gets in there and really starts wreaking havoc. But we thought it was something to help us at first. That's the trick.
So now your book, The Black Goddesses, how does the complete theme of your book actually help set people free from that virus and that clickbait?
It exposes them to the original myths. It exposes them to some of the concepts that have been hidden from religion and from media as a whole. And so that exposure helps to wake up the consciousness. It helps to realign the spirit to the natural principles. It helps to remove the confusion surrounding things like the zodiac, the constellations, the numbers. People who practice numerology, they're not demonic people. Those are people who are into understanding frequency and vibration. Those things are not demonic. Those things have to do with how things come into reality. When you start learning about the symbolism, we talked about symbolism earlier. We didn't really get so deep into it. Like every letter of every language is a symbol.
Right.
Every word in every language is also a symbol. Those things can come together they change how you think. Words, ideas, those things are all tied to, letters are tied to words, which are also tied to numbers.
And all of that is tied to vibrations and frequencies. Exactly.
We talking about vibrations and frequencies, and people who know how to use them know how to push your buttons. They know how to get you to feel bad about yourself. They know how to get you to get up and want to shake your ass. They use it in music all the time. They use it in videos. They use it in there's energy that can be manipulated, and they can make you feel anything they want you to feel. Right?
That's true.
They got a movie for that. They got a TV show for that. They got a song for that. They want you to feel depressed. You want to feel depressed? Listen to some Sade for about half an hour. Your ass is gonna be depressed.
But you know what's funny? Because one particular culture of music that's never publicized the way that rap music is heavy metal. And that music, I've seen people do some serpentine things. Like, how do you bite off a whole bird's head? Like, you're on stage and you're urinating on people. Like, you go home, you listen to heavy metal, you do drugs, and you jump out of a 10-story building and you kill yourself. That music is never publicized as much as rap has been.
Well, it's the music of chaos, and for one, not that many people want to hear it like that. It'll never be as popular as hip hop because of the rhythm and the cadence and everything that else we put into hip hop.
Right.
However, hip hop is way more magical. It's way more weaponized at this point than heavy metal ever was, and I'll tell you why. Because they have been using words that make us hate women. They have been using words that make us hate ourselves. They have been using words that glorify murder, genocide, drug sales, getting the bag at the cost of anything. It doesn't matter who, betray you. It doesn't matter what's going on. They're talking about getting the bag, getting the pussy, getting whatever they getting at the expense of somebody else. They always fucking your bitch. Not they're not getting their own and
Well, you touched on that with mirror magic when you talked about the power of tongue.
Yeah.
So all of these things play a very important, a very intricate part of the spells that we cast on ourselves through thought, through principles, through deities, through energy, through mirror, anything that's reflecting us, anything that we're reflecting that's reflecting back to us, which is a retroflection. As you said earlier, it's not just a mirror. It's also what we watch on TV. It's also what we listen to, all of that stuff. So all of this stuff is some real good stuff. And, I think that what you did here was definitely led by the ancestors. There's no question of what I've seen so far in your book that this book should definitely be a part of a system. It needs to be in schools. And people need to be re-educated. It needs to be reinstituted. Because all of this stuff that we've been taught with the Bible and all of that stuff about all these different myths about a man swimming across a continent in the belly of a fish and coming out untouched. And I'm just like, did I really used to believe that? You know what I'm saying? It makes you really, really, really go back and reflect on what the type of stuff you were telling yourself. Yeah. And it does play a big factor in mental illness. And people don't understand that it gives you a perception when you start believing it. Anything we tell ourselves, it gives us a perception. It does. So if you can believe that a whole grown man was swallowed up by a whale, and based off of where he swam, this fish swam him from, or this being, he took him across continent in 3 days. I don't know a boat that's going from China to America in 3 days. I don't even know a boat that's doing that. I don't even know a plane that's doing that. I mean, well, maybe a plane, but ain't no boat doing it. So how the heck did a fish do it? And
that's one of those things. That's an allegory, like.
But listen, the thing is, now it is, because now you've developed some maturity and some growth mentally. But just imagine the people our age and older who still believe that actually happened.
Yeah.
That is a very, 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 thin line between reality and mental illness. Because if you can believe that happened, there's a lot of other things that your mind and your perception will tell you and make you believe. Yeah. So I think that this energy right here of being a healer to a person's mind, because it takes a lot of healing to come out of that stuff. It takes a lot of realization of what's real from what's fiction for a person to be able, and it's not easy to balance that when you're coming from one paradigm shift to another. Yeah. So I want to ask you this one last bullet point question of what was the drive behind your story as you were, what was your motivation behind this story? This complete book, and how long did it actually take you to complete it?
Well, my motivation was, I think I spoke on a little bit earlier, that I had a question about the heavenly existence of a mother goddess.
Right.
Fine, and that question has been with me since I was a child, and I kept pursuing the answer. A lot of times in my own personal time, we talking about after work, after my parental obligations, and after relationships, right, things like that. It was like, as I had the time to read and research for myself, this was a question that was nagging at me. And so as I began to, when I finally did find some answers, they were so life-changing for me that I felt like, man, it's like, you got to tell other people this. You got to tell, there was a reason why they changed this information. There was a reason why they hid this information. And I felt like it was like that became my mission. Like, okay, I wanted to put together a definitive work about goddesses, and the mythology and the spiritual traditions that they were related to and things like that, because once again, it had the power to change like some of the things that we grew up with. as a paradigm. Like the fact that, you know, they showed us all these movies about us being slaves, and
they still doing it.
yeah, you know, just they had this narrative, like basically black people weren't anything on planet Earth before they met white people. Like we weren't doing anything. We didn't have any culture. We didn't have any traditions. We didn't have any religions. We were stupid. We were, you know, we're basically savages. The way they portrayed us was always as savagery. You know, as we like we could be in the forest with animals for years, for decades, centuries. A white kid comes to get born Tarzan, and he's the one who could talk to animals. He's the one that can swim with all the expertise and everything. Like he's the man, and all the black guys are the cannibals. They trying to get him so they can eat him, type of thing. And come to find out, the exact opposite is true. Come to find out, you know, not only were we the kings and queens of the jungle, we were the kings and queens of empires. We were the kings and queens of queendoms and nations. And, you know, black women are the mothers of nations. They left that out. They left that out. And I felt strongly enough about it to want to put it back in, to re-inject that into popular consciousness as a concept. You know what I mean? So
y'all see it. He's reinstituting the power of the black goddesses, y'all. He's reinstituting the power of the black woman, the black feminine energy, the black divinity, the sacred, the legacy of the sacred feminine. He's putting it back because there's so many different myths and beliefs that's taking us out. It's to the point to where, you know, I hate to say this, but for the most part, a lot of our men, they don't respect us. They degrade us a lot, you know, and as a reflection, a lot of us as mothers are reflecting that on our sons. And then they grow up, you know, emasculated, and then they go out here dating women. And then a lot of women are paying for what a lot of us mothers are doing to our sons. And it's a repeated cycle. It's a repeated cycle of this same mirror magic and the power of tongue and thought that we're sitting here talking about. And what you're saying is that you was motivated to create this encyclopedia, this Bible, to reinstitute our consciousness, our temple healing back to us so that we can rearrange our perception of one another and learn how to reinstitute what we see when we see one another, what we see when we see our mothers, what we see when we see our sisters, what we see when we see our daughters. We have to reinstitute this. And we also, once we get to see ourselves again, we'll also see what we need to see when we see our men and our sons and our brothers. And we will stop this foolishness and all this battle of the sexes and all this, why women always doing this. These ain't got no edges. These I get so tired of seeing them. It's to the point to where you got so many, it's women out here that's turning into pick-me females. And I say pick-me females because they start posting stupid stuff about women saying they don't need a man. And it's just like, you don't know why that person feel that way. You don't know what they've been through. Who are you to judge what somebody else choose to do with their life? Everybody ain't desperate to be laying up with a man every night. Everybody ain't desperate to settle for that. Some women have rediscovered the goddess in themselves. So no, you're not going to just settle for anything if that's the part of yourself that you became reconnected with, because now you know who you are. So no, you're not going to beat this woman here. You're not going to beat this woman. Okay, if you're this woman, then you want this man. You don't want nobody walking around, and there ain't no strike against what nobody do, but you don't want nobody walking around. All they want to do is get high and drink. All they want to do is kick their feet up and lay up and have sex. They ain't trying to build nothing. They're not trying to form a foundation. They're not trying to build a legacy. If you this woman, you want a legacy. If you this woman, you want somebody that you can not only build with materially and financially, but somebody that you can build with consciously. Somebody that knows his God energy. Because for every God, there's a goddess. You know what I'm saying? And they still walk around calling themselves ends. But then they want bees. And then you got these women who call themselves bad bees that want ends. You know what the N word is. I don't like using it. That's just me personally.
Well, you know, can I show you something?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so I got something.
Because this is why I was so adamant about wanting you to talk about this, because this right here is powerful.
Yeah, it is. I got something in the book for that.
Yes.
Okay, so even in this book, we break down what the niggas is what the
Yeah,
niggas are, the nagus, the nago, the nago.
all of that.
All right,
This is
so
why this y'all want a Bible?
yeah,
Y'all want a real Bible?
we get
That's
into
not
that.
dramatic.
Right,
That's not gonna
we
make
get
these
into
people
that.
look like they're real people that's been in a lying to you, making you mentally ill and believe in delusions. Then get this Bible. Get this Bible right here, the Black Goddess Encyclopedia. Because this man right here, he has reinstituted the consciousness of not just our people, but the mother of our civilizations, which is the Black woman. He's bringing back the consciousness of who we are originally, where we come from as regards to not just here on planet Earth in the physical, but consciously in the spiritual realm as well. And that's powerful because you're not getting that. I'm not racist, but I'm going to say what I'm going to say. You're not getting that from no Caucasian institution on this planet. You're not getting that. If we can spend hundreds of dollars on Britannicas and all this information that these people have been feeding us and digesting us, all this rat poison that we can spend with our own that's trying to give us back what we've lost, what has been stolen from us, what has been confiscated from us, what has been beaten out of us. This right here, y'all better get this book. I'm telling you, y'all better get this book, The Black Goddess, and support this brother. Because let me tell you something, if you're looking for some serious healing, and you're looking for some serious answers, and you don't, and let me tell you something, screw Google, get this book. Somebody who studied over the years that actually has become a true scholar and what it is to be a conscious person, to be one of the people who knows that what a god and a goddess really stands for and what it's all about. Okay, so Keith, I just want to ask you, is there any last words that you want to leave people with as regards to your book? Um, where they can find it at and stuff like that, and any other products you may offer.
Yeah, if you're interested in the book, you can purchase it on. It's available right now on Amazon, Amazon.com. If you just type in Black Goddess Legacy, it'll pop right up in the search, and you could buy it in Kindle format, paperback format, or hardcover format. Right now, the hardcovers take about a month to come in. I don't know why, but that's Amazon print on demand. But the paperbacks come in a couple of days. So if you really, and they're very nice. Nairi, she has been showing off the copy of the paperback,
Yes, baby.
and this is
Look at all
the
this beautiful art in this book, y'all.
hardcover, right? So they're both very nice books. Um, and as she said, they're packed full of information. You can get to my website. It's at blackgoddesslegacy.com. There's some information about the book, a little bit more information about me, and I'm going to be doing some updates and posting some videos there over time as I do more things like this online. Um, so that's where you can find the book. If you like it, please leave me a comment or a recommendation. That would be much appreciated. Also, if you feel like somebody else might be able to get something from the book, please share it. Hit that. All you got, it just takes, hit the share button on the Amazon, and then copy and paste it. Your Facebook, your Instagram. Somebody who is into this kind of information, I would say, anybody that that's into spirituality or esoteric studies or mythology and religion, fantasy, sci-fi, that kind of thing. Women that are interested in educating themselves. This is the book for you. This is the book that, I did put a lot of work into making it a powerful tool that you could actually get some use out of. So it's not just about talking about the goddesses and how great they are. It's also about giving you the tools that you need to decode the mythology, to decode the religion, to decode the TV. So when you see them flashing certain symbols at you, you know what they really mean. That's all in this book. I give you the signs, symbols, numbers, astrological charts, everything that's associated with each one of these goddesses, and it breaks down why they're associated with those goddesses and what they have been used for over time. That's important information because, once again, you reading stories, you watching TV, we watching a movie, and they're showing you archetypes and principles of Black women. This is going to help you to be able to recognize the counterfeit information, the fraudulent information versus the real. and that's what's most
Yes.
important. So it's going
And
to,
then they show you these images of powerful goddess women who were black, but they show them to you as Caucasian women.
or evil,
They show you,
or like,
yes.
they drinking blood and eating babies or something like that. Once again, there's a lot of real powerful information that's going to help you to dispel some of the negative propaganda and stereotypes that we have been bombarded with.
Oh, we got to touch on one last thing before we get out of here. I got to.
All right.
Sybil.
One last.
Sybil. Because they used to call me that when I was younger, and you said something about that to me.
What's that?
Sybil.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Uh-oh. I'm trying to show the people.
Yeah, that's another real powerful part of the book. Yeah.
Now, this is pertaining to, I want to say, people like myself who can communicate with the other side, who can read people and stuff like that.
Yes.
Can touch right quick for about 30 seconds if you can. Touch on this subject as regards. First of all, let me just say, tell the people about your something real small about your reading experience that you had with me the few days back, and how we got on this subject of Sybil in your book.
Well, during the reading, it's clear that you have a connection to the ancestors and to spirits, and because you were on point and accurate about things that I didn't tell you about, and you can find it nowhere in the book, or online or nothing. So, there's a clear connection. There are women who there is a spiritual tradition which goes back thousands and thousands of years that relates to women who are telepathic, psychic, who can speak to spirits, who can communicate with the other side, various energies, and they were called Sibyls and oracles. And the chapter in the book is about my search for Sybil. First of all, I was taught that the Sybil tradition was mythical, or it was purely fictional. So I found references to Sybil in things like books and movies. There was a book, when I was a little boy, there was a book written about Sibyls that became a movie. And it was about a woman who had multiple personalities. And it was because of the trauma that she suffered as a child, right? And so that was the first time I ever heard about Sybil. And that story is partially true. A part of what that story illuminated for me was that the Sybil psyche had been shattered. So a lot of women who have been a part of that Sybil tradition, there's a lot of dysfunction due to trauma. That trauma came from slavery. That trauma came from Jim Crow. That trauma came from watching all the TV shows that show women as being less than, in all the various ways. And so as I continue my search for Sybil, outside of fiction, I started to find her in history. And right here and now, Mama Zagbe, she wrote a book called The Sibyls. She's the one who really set off the Sybil tradition in a real way for me, because she connected the Sybil traditions to the history, to places, to physical places in Africa, to physical places in Europe, to physical places in the place we call the Middle East, Asia. She did a work called The Sibyls, and she also did another work about the Mami Watas, Volume 1 and Volume 2. All three of those books, she sets off that she really shows and proves the history of these Sibyls as real women and their real traditions. And it really, it just blew my mind. That's one of the most important things ever, because it showed the connection to this spiritual tradition that if you all as women are able to reconnect with in a healthy way, and if you're able to connect so that you can heal these parts of yourself, it's so much power that's going to come online for you. So much power. So that part about the Sibyls is key. And it's, once again, that's in the book. I documented as best I could. I even put a bibliography of books and their resources. So once again, this book is a tool for you to be able to follow these breadcrumbs. So it's not just me pontificating about the story.
You're leading them to a destination.
Yes.
It's not frivolous. So y'all heard it first here on Talking Tarot. Y'all see this beautiful art also in this book. you see the importance of the information that's in this book. This is the encyclopedia of the Black Goddess. This is also the true Black Bible of the origin of mythology and religion. So listen, y'all, on that note, Hotep, Hotep, Hotep. This is what we do up in here, baby. And we don't even need to leave nobody with an energy, because we're going to keep this same energy that we came with.
All right.
The healing energy, the healing temple energy. All right. So thank you so much, Keith, for coming on here and expressing, you know, things about the book and everything. I wish you so much success. Matter of fact, I know you're going to be successful, because our people, we're going to support this, because we need this. We're missing this, you know. So thank you again. And maybe we could come back again and talk about some more stuff, because I know it's so much information to cover. We could not possibly do it all in one take. Right. So thank y'all for those that did tune in. If you shared it, thank you. If not, y'all can see it on YouTube, because that's where it's going. On that note, enjoy the rest of y'all evening, and thank y'all for joining in. And stay tuned for the next Talking Tarot with your girl, Naira Sanchez, aka Mocha Chameleon. On that note, she out. Peace.
Peace.